Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news untold stories. I am Oyi Opala. Let's begin. Shocking video has surfaced from Great Sopoboya showing colonial military men from La Republic to Cameroon engaging in illegal activities, including pulling Ambazonian residents out of their homes. This disturbing footage has sparked widespread concern, with many suspecting that these intimidation tactics are aimed at coercing local residents into celebrating the controversial 11th of February, which La Republic to Cameroon claims is a youth day, and on the other hand is a no celebration day in Ambazonia. The heavy military presence in Ambazonia is believed to be a deliberate attempt to compel participation in the upcoming celebration, though they said Namosi has returned. Why then the military enforcement, which have, by the way, become a symbol of the ongoing discord between the La Republic to Cameroon and the Ambazonian government? The displacement of Plebiscite Day, where Youth Day, is seen by many as a ploy by La Republic to Cameroon leaders to erase the British Southern Cameroon's historical legacy. The insecurity surrounding Youth Day is alarming, with last year's incidents in Ngambuh still fresh in people's mind. Sponsored gunmen bombed the event ground, causing injuries, death, chaos and havoc. This incident has left many Ambazonians living in fear, wondering what this year's celebration might bring. As the 11th of February approaches, tensions are running high and the Ambazonian community is on the edge. The world must take notice of the plight of the Ambazonian people and condemn the colonial government's action. The people of Ambazonia deserve to live in peace and freedom without the constant threat of intimidation and violence. Before we get into the news proper today, here are some take-homes from this introduction. First is colonial military men are engaging in illegal activities, including pulling residents out of their home. Second is heavy military presence is aimed at coercing participation in a forced Youth Day celebration that is even a false. Third, insecurity surrounding Youth Day celebration is alarming, with a history of violence and intimidation. And the fourth is that Ambazonian communities are now living in fear, wondering what this year's celebration might bring. Now, all these and more would have today in full analysis with our in-house analyst, Barrister Team Mbeseha. But before then, let's get you the headlines. All right, tonight we'll take a look at the colonial authorities in Bamenda launching Youth Week activities for primary and secondary schools at the upstation military camp, which is, by the way, confirmation that Ambazonia is at war. Monday goes down. We're going to take a look at the event that has happened today and how Ambazonians are relaxing on Mondays. Also tonight, we'll take a look at Colonial Army disrupting football celebration as there was a crossfire between the ASA and, of course, the Colonial Army at the PWD football match. Tonight, we take a look at Ngarbuh village, where some sub-chiefs has been attacked by the colonial military. Colonial military has striked again in Mbeseha camp. And of course, on the African scene, we take a look at what's happening in Congo as renewed violence is high in eastern Congo, while the U.S. government is set to resume crucial aid efforts with the USAID. Let's get the news in full preference right now. The colonial authorities in Bamenda, the chief town of the Midland Zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, have acknowledged the fact that Ambazonia is at war and not safe for the launch of the 58th Youth Week activities. The colonial authorities, under the supervision of Colonial Governor Adolphe Lely Afrique, regrouped few schools functioning at the upstation at the Colonial Army Camp at upstation still for the launch of activity towards the Youth Day celebration. This is an activity that before the war in Ambazonia was highly animated. It involved culture, sports and competition at the local government level, through the country level to regional levels. All schools were involved. It was a time for display of culture by the younger ones. Well, today, according to report, it is a mere shadow of itself, with a handful of schools being engaged, representing a whole region and activities taking place at the Colonial Army Camp. This is the extent of insecurity and uncertainty with the ongoing war in Ambazonia. The colonial regime decides to stay propaganda, holding on activities that no longer have the euphoria as before, with impunity, just to fake that all is well, whereas all sectors have been crippled by the senseless war in Ambazonia. I would take us back, because according to Partisan Wilfred, 11th of February for Ambazonia is a day of enslavement, which includes oppression, marginalization, and rape. For all we know, the replacement of the plebiscite day with the Youth Day was masterminded by La République du Cameroon leaders with the specific intention of eroding the British Southern Cameroon's historical legacy. The insecurity that surrounds the so-called Youth Day is alarming. Just last year, we can remember some sponsored gunmen bombed the event, causing so much chaos, death, injuries, and havoc. To this effect, the government of Ambazonia has called for a lockdown, which is currently being observed in the whole of Ambazonia. But still ahead of the 11th February, we are seeing intimidation, civilians being harassed. On February 9, 2025, a video surfaced from Greater Poboya, where colonial military men from La République du Cameroon took in on illegal activities of pulling Ambazonia residents out of their homes. These intimidation tactics are suspected to be measures used to coerce local residents into celebrating their controversial 11th of February, which La République du Cameroon is claiming to be Youth Day. So in the early hours of February 9th, the colonial military conducted operations in Greater Poboya. This heavy military presence is suspected to be an aim to compel participation in the upcoming celebration for 11th of February, one of the days that rather symbolizes the ongoing discord, marginalization between the colonial government and the Ambazonian government. Video evidences, just like you are seeing, and eyewitnesses described soldiers patrolling the streets, creating an atmosphere of fear and anxiety amongst lookers. Critics are concerned about the state of things, and they say that the use of military force against a civilian population is an egregious violation of human rights and must be condemned in the strongest terms. These actions of the colonial military is nothing new to the community. Nothing new to the community, as they have always employed force, particularly against Ambazonian communities. Meanwhile, one would barely hear of or witness such acts in La République du Cameroon. These discriminatory approaches got residents wondering whether similar tactics would be employed in the Francophone zones. The situation in Boya remains precarious, especially with the coming of 11th February celebration, which is for tomorrow. The potential for further unrest looms, and many are in the fright about the outcome of the illegal celebration in Ambazonia. Barrister Mbeseha, this is just an extension of the happenings from the home front. Basically, scaling up students for a compulsory event which has no vigor, no enthusiasm, nothing, and then forcing residents to turn up. These are just happening from the home front. What would you say about these forced 11th of February celebration?
Well, what I would say is that there's a general saying in French and English that nothing is impossible in Cameroon. Cameroon is a unique nation in the world that makes everything possible, even when things are impossible. Otherwise, the very word called celebration, the very word celebration, what does it entail? It entails joy, happiness, going out to dance and eat, and do whatever thing you think you can please yourself with. Where else in the world? Anywhere in the world, I don't remember any place where a people are forced to go out and celebrate. You don't force people to celebrate. I don't force you to go out and make a burn house for your baby. It's just natural. If you have a baby, you have a burn house. People will come even when they are not invited. We don't force people to go out and celebrate a marriage. If you are married, in fact, that's why you give tickets, because the crowd will work. There will be a crowd more than you can contain. But why then a forced celebration of so-called February 11th? I should really put it there. Why only in Amazonia? Call it Northwest Southwest. Why? Why the force? Why are they not forcing people in Bafoussam? Why are they not forcing people in Gaundari, in Ngarbuh, in Btw, in Yaoundé, and other parts of Cameroon to come out and celebrate? Why are they not forcing them? They are not forcing them because in the first place they have nothing to celebrate. If they go out, it's just because they want to go and drink. They have nothing to celebrate because they have nothing to do with 11 February. Absolutely nothing historically. They have nothing to do with 11 February. 11 February, they call it the plebiscite day, which I've had the opportunity to explain. Was a day wherein the Ambazonians, call it British Southern Cameroon, was forced to vote to choose to get independence by either joining Nigeria or joining a republic, exclusively Southern Cameroonians. The British, the French-speaking Cameroon, which called themselves at the time Republic of Cameroon, never participated in any form or shape in the plebiscite of 11 February. So what are they celebrating for? You see, in the history of Amazonia, there are two important dates, and that far as is concerned. We have 11 February that were forced into this plebiscite. And come 11 February was followed by 1st October. The two must go together. If the two are not going together, there's something wrong. And to make a long story short, people are now being forced to go and celebrate 11 February. But when you go out voluntarily to celebrate 1st October, they are detained, if not killed. So all this, how will you celebrate 11 February, which essentially say that we'll get independence on a future date by joining Cameroon? A future date is set. After 11 February, 2 months into that, that future date was fixed to be 1st October 1961. So 1st October must go along with 11 February, where the people were expressed an opinion. There was no date that you get independence as we voted on the 11th of February. There was no date yet fixed. The date, the future date for independence will come later on. And it came 2 months after that. On the 21st of April, they start to say, okay, you have voted on the 11th of February, come 1st October, your wish to join East Cameroon or the Republic of Cameroon will be satisfied. You become independent by joining them. And again, here we come. We celebrate 11 February. They force you to celebrate 11 February. You go out to celebrate October 5 by your own. You are arrested, you are detained, you are shot and killed. Again, I don't know any other nation in the world where people are forced to go and celebrate. Where people have to do Kale Kale, which Kale Kale I've had the opportunity to explain here. Kale Kale is illegal. It's even illegal in Cameroon. It's manifestly illegal against international law. And so, going to catch people in support or in Bamanda or anywhere else in Ambazonian, they must celebrate something they don't want to celebrate, begs the issue. It's just telling. Any other person forcing you to do that Just an observer will ask the question, why, how, and why do you force someone to celebrate? Why and how do I force you to celebrate your child's birthday if you have a child? Why and how do I force you to celebrate your day of marriage or anything in your family? And so it's a farce. It's a criminal act they are committing on our people. In short, it's a war crime to force people to do what they don't like, to force people to change their cultural identity. And so there's nothing like Youth Day. The youth in general of Cameroon had nothing to do with this thing called 11th February. The youth in Ambazonia, then British Southern Cameroon, did not play a particular role. But come 1962, after 11th February 1961, come 1962, the Southern Cameroon at the time decided that we would dedicate this day as a day for the youth. That was officially declared by the Prime Minister, and the directives for doing it were passed out by a certain Kisop, who was the prefect of Mbeseha at the time. What was it meant? For children to go out and enjoy, and dance, and march. That was the beginning of the Youth Day. Purely for Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians. Yeah, they had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. They were never consulted. But as the years went by, they decided to learn something from it. The French government has said, look, there are two important days in our lives. This day, which we promised to build a new nation, coming out of colonialism, you must remember, we shall cease to be a colony anymore. We're going to assert ourselves. And that nation that new nation we're going to build is going to depend on the youth. The youth will take over the country, they will work, they will develop the country. That's why they call it the Youth Day. But that must come only beginning from 1st October, when the new nation of Amazonia or British Southern Cameroon will be created as part of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. That was the basis of it. And so they chose that day as the Youth Day and 1st October as the National Day. They chose 1st October as the National Day and 11th February as their Youth Day, the day of the plebiscite. The day of the plebiscite was the first step that the colonial master, the United Nations, took to free us from colonialism. Until then, Southern Cameroon used to celebrate the Empire Day, which was the British Empire Day. But come 11th February, we were ceasing to be part of the British Empire. It was celebrated on the 26th of October. That was Empire Day. But it also had some meaning in Ambazonia. 26th of October was a date that they officially created the institutions of Southern Cameroon when they left the Indigo House of Assembly in 1953. The first act to institutionalize them, to create them as a semi-autonomous region, was on 26th of October 1954. And then from the first government there going forward, they had their own courts governed by the Southern Cameroon High Court law, unlike the Nigerian court law. And so they celebrated it as a national day, but came 11th February, we were ceasing to be part of Nigeria. So we're no longer part of the regions of Nigeria. And so they adopted that day as a day for the youth. Again, I've said before, you cannot celebrate 11th February without celebrating 1st October. Now that 1st October has ceased to exist by the machinations of the enemy, they abolished it, abolished our institutions that came with it. And now, what are they celebrating? 11th February cannot hang in the air. As a matter of fact, as far as we are concerned, 11th of February is a day of mourning. It's a day of mourning because that's the day we voted to self-crucify. We voted by ourselves. They didn't like it, they forced it on us. We voted to join these criminals. And at first, many people argue this. At first, Yaoundé considered the 11th of February as a day of mourning in 1964. For them, it was a day of mourning. Why were they mourning? They were mourning because, according to them, they had lost northern Cameroon. You remember that there was southern and northern Cameroon. Northern Cameroon voted to go to Nigeria. Cameroon went to the United Nations Court at The Hague, International Court of Justice, and sued, claiming that Northern Cameroon should not have gone to Nigeria. They should have come back to their fold of so-called United Cameroon and lost the elections and lost the case. And so from 1964 to 1965, they declared a day of mourning for having lost their so-called brothers of the Northern Cameroon. So when did it become a day of joy for them? Since when? So it's a machination. After they killed the so-called federation that existed officially on the records of the United Nations. Once they kill it, the federation ceases to exist. Once they pull out of the federation, Southern Cameroon pull out of it, along with its own dates, including 11 February 1961, because that was a national day for them. That was an important date for them, that they were ceasing to be part of Nigeria officially. They were ceasing to be part of UK administration officially. And so it is a fraud. It is not a fraud. Let them go force the children in the Bolova. Let them force the children in Btw, in Ngarbuh, wherever. Let them go down with the guns and pull them out and see. They are not doing it. So why all this pressure? Why all these machinations on Ambazonians? Is it a mistake? It is a mistake, not even a mistake. It is fraud. Again, I don't know any nation in the world where people are so forced to celebrate. At least those of us who live here, there are days of celebration, national days. Labor Day, for example, which is worldwide. International days. Nobody forces someone to go and celebrate. So why these excesses? Why this zealousness? Even in West Cameroon, Southern Cameroon is called it, when it was a youth day, nobody was forced to go and do it. Nobody was ever forced to go and do it. When it was 1st October, when we were still celebrating it, nobody was forced to go and celebrate 1st October. So why the obsession of forcing people to go and celebrate something called 11 February? It is a criminal act. It is even more criminal because Mr. Paul Biya, who is now on his dying bed, lived this since life. I'm not as old as he is, so he saw this thing before me. So why is he so obsessed with lying? Why is he obsessed with lying? I saw in 1961, I was not a very big person, but I saw it with my own eyes. If I saw it, a young person, Paul Biya saw it, an old man, and in fact, all his cabinet, because the average age of his cabinet members is 85 to 90, so they know what is going on. Over to you.
They know what's going on. And just to add that this is not where we'll end this discussion, Barrister Mbeseha. Tomorrow, which is the 11th of February proper, we'll delve into this discussion exclusively. So I'm sure that you're always prepared. So all Ambazonians, you want to learn the historicity and all of the background stories behind the 11th of February, I implore you to join the Undaunted conversation tomorrow for an exclusive discussion with Barrister Mbeseha and some other learned barristers that may be on the show tomorrow. But moving on tonight's Undaunted. Today is Monday Goes Down, and of course, like every other Monday, is a ghost town just like every other Monday in Ambazonia since 2017. Ambazonians have grown to make Monday Ghost Downs more beneficial to the detriment of La Republic to Cameroon. With the institution of the Monday Ghost Down since 2017, Ambazonians were having difficulties adapting to the new dynamics, given that they had to ground all sources of income given the stipulations of the Ghost Down. Now, given the imperative nature of the Monday Ghost Down, Ambazonians embrace the action and have grown to make Monday Ghost Downs more beneficial. The videos you're seeing on the screen shows how today was in Ambazonian, especially in Bamenda. The La Republic to Cameroon colonial regime closed all industries in Ambazonia, obliging them to indulge in business and agriculture. Ambazonians are more engaged in agriculture on Mondays to better sustain their resolve to flush out La Republic to Cameroon administration. Away from agriculture, Ambazonians have also seen Mondays as an opportunity to get their hold right by engaging in sporting activities in neighborhoods, getting to know each other. To Ambazonians, Mondays are highly cherished as they not only give Ambazonians a time to temporarily recover from the shackles of the ongoing war in Ambazonia, but also to get involved in activities that will better their lives in the future. While Ambazonians are getting better on Mondays, colonial sources of income are getting dry as Mondays multiply because there are no forms of extortion, no taxes or whatsoever. All extortion points are grounded on Mondays. La Republic, the Cameroon Colonial administrative offices are equally closed on Mondays in respect of the ghost town. Monday Ghost Town, just in case you do not know, was instituted in 2017 by President Samuel Ika led the government to make Ambazonian government governable by the colonial regime, and the results have been wonderful to the detriment of colonial La Republic to Cameroon regime. This is a day respected by Ambazonians all across Ambazonia, and we are seeing that this is also in line with the lockdown for the 11th of February that was given by the Ambazonian government, and this is respected. Barrister Mbeseha, do you like the sights you're seeing? Do you like the respect that is still given to the Monday, lockdown or ghost town, as the case may be for today, just like we have footages from the home front?
I think I like it, but let me say something. See, as a town, someone at the home front coined the thing perfectly well. In fact, better than the government did. What did you call this thing back home to your mother and mine, to your grandfather and my grandfather? They call it Country Sunday. Country Sunday. I think to the best of my knowledge, about 80 to 75% of Ambazonians, the whole Ambazonia, they are Christians. Christendom was brought to them. Before then, they had their native days, but Christianity was brought to them. And with Christianity came something they call Sunday. With Sunday came the explanation that that's the day you rest. You don't go to work. Nobody's forcing you not to go to work, but you just rest. You go to church and pray if you are a churchgoer, or you just sleep in your bed in your house. That is Country Sunday. I think this will be one of the few African countries when we emerge finally as a country to have married religion into our own culture and call this day Country Sunday. It was meant to be civil disobedience. It is, but it has become a political symbol to freedom. That on this day, we meet, we sit at home to think about our own creation, to think about our own bare existence as a country. Sunday, according to the Bible, was the day God rested after doing all his job. He looked back and said, well, I've done everything, let me rest today. Country Sunday for us is the day we look back as a nation, not as individuals, but as a nation. What symbolizes us? Because when we shall emerge finally, the only thing that symbolizes us to emerge as a country is this resistance, the silent resistance against oppression, the silent resistance against occupation. It has become unmanageable even for them. Because even the colonial administrators, GOs, governors, and whoever, they don't even open their own offices. They don't try because the office is there, it's a building. People who go to work inside are human beings. And so I think I see what I like. For those people who thought that the idea of ghost town is a joke, think twice. One, by the Tasang said, come Monday, we'll know who owns Ambazonia. It has become true 7 to 8 years running. It is not going to go away. Even when tomorrow the colonial operators pack and go, there will something remain symbolic. I've said it before. I will build a museum somewhere, a museum of peaceful resistance, a museum of Country Sunday. Call it Monday Ghost Towns. We shall display inside that museum a number of artifacts that will correctly reflect what we've gone through. People have been killed trying to do this. The ghost towns, as you can see the pictures there. And so that is a lot of historical meaning. It is something we should celebrate. It is something we should encourage our people. For those of them who believed that going out on Sunday, ghost town, country Sunday, is going to make you rich, you're deceiving yourself. If you didn't work for the whole week, if you didn't get money for the whole week, you're not going to get money on Monday. If you didn't build your house before Monday, you're not going to build it on Monday. And there have been signs to show that resistance, you want to, but the risk of resistance is high. You might lose your lives because you don't just want to take simple orders. You want to show your manhood or your womanhood. You want to show your mastery over a people. It will not work. I remember a few months ago, they were going to celebrate Paul Biya's thing somewhere in upstation Bamunda there. Sitting woman, assistant mayor of somewhere, is in Bafo somewhere in Bamunda, walked out there gallantly to show her strength as a mayor. Well, she came back and died. And as we speak, even the colonial operation have not been able to open any investigation, talk less of charge anybody for taking away her life. So it is for us to assess which is more important for you, your life, your future, or your gallantry, fake gallantry, to violate what people don't want. And so all signs are there. Whatever thing they're trying to do, they are doing it in a clandestine way. They are doing manipulatively to pretend that something is existing. They will march and take pictures in the backyard in the night, the day before, months before, which pictures they will display on social media and claim to be a march past. It is a national day, and if this is what we say, let Paul Biya dare it to go and march in Bamenda, because he's the king of kings anyway. He's the fun of us. He didn't dare it to go and celebrate it in Boya, to challenge us that we are wrong. Absent this, any other person is a manipulator, any other person is a criminal, trying to harvest where they did not sow, trying to paint black into white. Charcoal will never become whitewash. Never and never and never. Over to you.
Well, moving on, La Republic de Cameroon has again demonstrated that they have no consideration for Ambazonia and the people of Ambazonia. Ambazonian clubs have been deprived of the privilege of playing their encounters before the home crowd because their home matches are played out of home because of the lack of a playing ground. This has greatly affected Ambazonian clubs in the elite championships. At the start of this year, 2025, top elite clubs, PWD and the Young Sports Academy pressured the colonial regime to permit them to play their home games at home, a pressure that yielded fruit. Inasmuch as Ambazonia is in war, sporting activities provide some sort of relief. Not just that, the gatekeeping from these encounters will help Ambazonians in one way to another. La Republic de Cameroon has decided to deprive Ambazonians of these privileges. On Sunday, February 9, 2025, as the match beaten PWD, one of the Ambazonian clubs, was playing against the La Republic team of Ferv Azor, the colonial army started firing shots from nearby, dispersing the supporters and players. Though no casualties were recorded, the colonial organizing authorities capitalized on that incident to stop any match from being played in Ambazonia. Who cares? Ambazonians' preoccupation is above hosting football encounters. And of course, the young ones are currently, being displaced from playing. But then we know that when Ambazonians collect Yeah, I will use the word collect, Barrister Mbeseha. The independence that was forcefully taken away, all of this will be fixed. Why have a shootout in a place that is filled with people? Do you not care about them? Do you not care about the lives of people? All of these crossfires and the rest. What would you have to say about this?
Well, if somebody ever thought that they cared about Ambazonians, it wasn't their time. They don't care about you. They rather open fire on you. But whereas we are not sure who did this, but the picture you show us there show the military, police vans standing there, military uniform with their guns. So where were they? This is Bamenda once more. Is this the place you talk of normalcy? Is this normalcy? I'm sure during a football match like that, everybody would love to go there, including pastors and bishops and priests. And when the guns start to fire, they're the first ones to hide in their cassocks. They run away. And the next day they come and tell us there's no mercy. Can you say there's no mercy in Bamenda? With those military guys standing there to watch an ordinary football match. And yet, fire is open. They themselves are running away. Fire is open. We have not heard that they arrested anybody. So what is the work of all these policemen, military guys, call them B and anything from a ship, with all those guns being carried up left and right? They must admit the fact that they know nothing, even though they carry those arms. They cannot control anything. They don't control Ambazonia. And so, because of this war, because of the situation where we find ourselves, there is no place safe in Ambazonia for you to go and play their leisure. The time will come when we'll have the leisure. If I were part of those teams, called them first division teams, I would not even go into those competitions. Because the time will come where you can play those things so well. People don't know. Like in 1961, we first joined this. They were talking about football. They had their football team. The first football team that was constituted in West Cameroon to play East Cameroon was called the Boy Red Devils. And they played in 1961. They played Orisk Douala 1961 and lost the match by 1 goal. So the football is nothing new to us. We can develop our football without them. And show that those people going out there with arms, they're amateurs. They don't do anything. I remember that we saw this thing happening in Koteng, the sugarcane thing there, and Banjo, with all the military guys there, gears and armor cars and so on and so on. Person died, yes. Who is this person who died? By their own version, the version from the prefect or governor. The guy was carrying a machete. How do you kill somebody? How do you shoot somebody and kill him? When the man is only carrying a machete is a cutlass or manquata. He's carrying a cutlass. You have soldiers there with all arms, armor cars. You don't arrest him. You shoot and kill him. That's the law of the jungle. In a civilized society, that man who opened fire on the mere guy carrying a machete should be prosecuted. Because that shooting of that gentleman and killing him, whatever arms he carried, was no match to the arms that the soldiers carried there. Was no match to the armor cars that were stationed in Kote. And then they shot and killed this poor guy. And they're hitting their chest. That's something, again, if I take it back to Bamenda. Where were they? Those of them there were seeing their pictures. Have they arrested the guy who shot the guy, who opened the fire? No. They cannot arrest the people since they are responsible for peace and for maintenance of order there. They are accomplices. They are accomplices to the crime. And so it's football, you do or die thing. Certainly not. If you must save your life, because that's just showing you that there's no place where it is safe in Bamenda. There's no place where anything is safe. Either in Bamenda, or if you're not going there, they'll catch you in a Kale. Unfortunately, do it. Kale, they catch you with arms. They arm and catch you. In Bamenda, they shoot and kill you. So it's the same thing. There's no security anywhere in Ambazonia until this occupation ends. There can be many military camps, including the one that just opened in Ombe, to add to be a 5th or 10th military camp just in Fako, 5 miles apart. that will not bring peace, because those people you put them there, even in those military camps, they're so inefficient. They're so inefficient, poorly trained. What makes them soldiers is just the uniform and the carrying of the weapons. They fall like flies. And so what's happening in Bamenda is not new. The responsibility goes to the government, because it is their responsibility to maintain law and order. And they try to do it by showing how many soldiers they could deploy in the football field. There are all 22 players. They play the whole army there with armor cars. And yet, the game was disrupted. Who did it? By implicit conclusion, they did it. Otherwise, we should have maintained the peace. Over to you.
Yeah, but talking about peace, peace is quite far from Ambazonians at this point, and all of this is for the world to see that all is not well, regardless of all of the pictures of normalcy that La Republic, the Cameroons, and others would want to paint. All is not well. All of these are stories with the videos as it is happening, as it occurs. So moving down to Ngarbuh, it was reported to have been a bad day where shots were severely shot at a sub-chief. Now the incident had appeared to be linked to his efforts to stop Mbereros from allowing their cattle to graze on local farms, as has been the case for a very long time. Tensions have been rising because the Mbereros depend on graze, and meanwhile their cattle has been constantly destroyed the crops of the indigenous people, especially maize, which is an important crop for farmers in Ngarbuh. The sub-chief's attempt to protect the farmland and the interest of his peasant population put him in danger. It is alleged that the attack was a planned act of some Mberero cattle raiders, who are the cover of the colonial military. While the attacker is currently fighting for his life, concerns are rising about what the reaction of the colonial administration would be. Just last week, Barrister Mbeseha, remember we brought you a report about a woman who was, manhandled and had severe injuries from Mbereros as well. Today, a sub-chief has been shot. This seems not to be stopping. There was a time, sometime last year, I think towards the end of last year, if you could remember, we also reported where La Republic de Cameroons, one of the ministers came up to say he will be investigating, or they will set an investigation committee to check the activities of the Mbereros. I'm sure you can remember, and I can remember your statement. You asked why now, when all of these atrocities have gone above and beyond, but you even think that nothing of such will be done. They just want to make a statement for statement's sake. This is 4 months down the line. People are dying. Atrocities are still happening. Injuries are still being, taken in by those who are supposed to be kept safe. The Mbereros are still winning in this march of evil. Barrister Mbeseha, your words keeps coming back, and it seems like you see the future even while sitting. Let's get your thoughts.
You see, Mbororo is not the issue here. The issue here is Ngarbuh. Ngarbuh is a household name in this struggle. It has made its own name in the history of the liberation of Ambazonia. So Ngarbuh is not a name to look for. Ngarbuh is not a place to go into the library to look for the name. No. Ngarbuh is an important place. It's an important name in this struggle for survival. Why? Because Ngarbuh before that means documented Ngarbuh, officially by Cameroon, internationally by international news organizations. So Ngarbuh is not it's a household name in this thing. And so it's not just about the Mbororo, it is about the Yaoundé militia doing havoc with the people they don't like. You can quote me. If you put back that picture that you were showing at the beginning, if you can put it back on the screen, I will say something about that. If you see that picture there with somebody standing behind the cows, okay, see that guy. behind the white cows. That's supposed to be an Mbororo man. That's supposed to be a cattle guy in Ganako. Look at the gun the arm that is carrying. That's an AK-47. That's an AK-47. That's a weapon of war. How did he get it? In Gabon, it is not even easy for you to get a rifle, which is a hunting rifle. But there's a guy there with an AK-47 standing behind cows. He manufactures it? No. Even if he manufactures it, it's so illegal to carry it. But we remember the Ngarbuh earlier, where they murdered children and burned their corpses. They have given the Mbororo, their so-called militias, they are giving them AK-47s and other weapons to go down and kill the people. And they did. And by their own version, by their own statements, they investigated. They punished their so-called officials, and that's whatever they call it. But they asked them, where are the Mbororo that you armed? They said, we don't know where they are. They have disappeared with the AK-47s and other weapons. They are still there. That's a picture that happened a few days ago. That's a cattle guy in Ghana command with an AK-47. When an ordinary law-abiding person will not even be allowed to carry a rifle without a license. And so it is not incident, it's not mistake at all. It's a design. They cannot claim that is Mbororo. Now, those are the militia of the government. Be they the militia of Atanganji or Gerard. Bottom line, they are armed with rifles. What are you doing with the cows eat grass? They are not complaining that the other neighbors are killing their cows. If they are killing their cows, they are killing them with the cutlass. How do you match the carrying of an AK-47 to protect a cow against a woman who's having a crop to drive away cows from eating their own crops? They have to be given the rightful interpretation. Again, Ngarbuh is not an unforgettable incident. There's all the maximum security in Ngarbuh. Ngarbuh is a place where we have mass graves done by Yaoundé, officially admitting it themselves and claiming to have punished the people they ate without punishing anybody. So what's happening in Ngarbuh? That's not the only community where we have the Mbororos in Amazonia. Cattle raiding is common. But why only Ngarbuh all the time? It is Ngarbuh because they are armed by the government. They are the militias admittedly armed by the government, by themselves. They are still there with AK-47s roaming the streets. And going down to there, punish whoever is the chief of Ngarbuh, whatever the poor man was doing, just to protect his beans, protect his potatoes, or whatever thing he was living on as food. And so the thing falls on the government of the people to come on. That was a war crime. What is going on today is still a war crime. They are accomplices to what is going on there. Attempting to wipe away the livelihood of people. That's their own food that they live on. They live on beans. They live on potatoes. Doing something to destroy it is to starve them to death, which is a war crime. Admit it or not, it's a war crime. So these things are being repeated. Unfortunately, they cannot hide because they can't deny. But they will not the other picture with Ghana command standing there with the AK-47. Who gave them the AK-47? The government. Because even as today, as I've said, they have not explained what the AK-47 they use in murdering the school children and burning them is. They explain that the thing disappeared into thin air. It's 2-3 years today. They're still having them and adding more. So again, it should not be in Ngarbuh. If we're somewhere else, one would try to fake some doubt. But this is Ngarbuh. This is Ngarbuh. This is not another village. It is Ngarbuh, which is already on the Cameroon map, which is already on the international map. It has attracted international attention for crimes against humanity, for war crimes, orchestrated and admitted by the government of Cameroon. So what else do we need? It is not about feeding cows. I've said. You see, people in Belgium, for example, rear a lot of cows. They sell milk. But 60 years after independence, there should not be any quarrel between Mororos and other farmers. You should have your own confined space where you can rear your cows, feed them, with the correct grass, enclose them within their own enclosure, and there will be no problem. But they are not doing this because they don't know. They are doing it because they want to punish people. And this is Ngarbuh, if I'm sure, if I'm not making a mistake, somewhere in Kambe. This is where, I think I read somewhere they were decorating Ngara Gerard for being one of the best senators or parliamentarians in the world. This is backyard. This is Tanganyika militias, admitted by them. It's not me manufacturing the evidence. And so it's not Bodoro, no. It's government militia doing what they are doing that the people do not like. And doing it particularly in Ngarbuh to teach Ambazonians a lesson. A second, a third, maybe the fifth lesson. Over to you.
Right. Thank you so much for your in-depth analysis tonight, Barrister Mbeseha. Tomorrow, just like I stated earlier, I want us to have an in-depth, analysis concerning the February 11th case, how it started, how it metamorphosed into what it is today, and what Ambazonians should have at the back of their minds as the celebration goes tomorrow. All right? And so this is where we'll let you go. This is where we'll let you go at the moment. And right after this short break, when we come back, we'll go straight to news across Africa. Thank you so much for being part of tonight's Undaunted.
Thank you.
All right, Congo still seems to be in the news tonight. Now, a surge in fighting between M23 rebels and Congolese troops has triggered a massive displacement of thousands of people, with many fleeing towards their provincial capital of Bukavu, the city, now a hub for UN humanitarian agencies, while is struggling to cope with the influx of refugees. In a disturbing escalation of the conflict, a bombing in the town of Ngarbuh, located 60 kilometers north of Bukavu, has left 3 civilians injured and damaged critical power infrastructure. The incident occurred on Thursday, just a day after 3 NGO workers were killed in North Kivu province under unclear circumstances. The situation on the ground is there, with local aid partners reporting a significant increase in humanitarian needs. The fall of Goma has already forced UN agencies to relocate to Bukavu, and the ongoing violence is putting a strain on the city's resources. As the conflict rages on, civilians are bearing the brunt of the violence as usual, just like in Ambazonia. The killing of NGO workers and the bombing of Ngarbuh are stark reminders of the risks faced by humanitarian actors and the civilian population. The world must take immediate action to address the crisis and prevent further escalation. On the other reports concerning Africa, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio won't be attending the upcoming G20 meeting in South Africa, which is a pretty big deal. This comes after President Donald Trump threatening to cut off funding to the country over its land reform policy, which has been a major point of contention. Trump accused South Africa of confiscating land and treating certain classes of people badly. But President Cyril Ramaphosa defended the policy, saying it's aimed at ensuring equitable public access to land. Meanwhile, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa had a chat with Elon Musk about misinformation surrounding the country's land policy. Musk had made some comments on social media accusing South Africa of having openly racist ownership laws, which didn't go down well. Ramaphosa set the record straight, reiterating that the government hasn't confiscated any land and the policy is all about fairness and equality. Will Elon Musk agree to that? On a more serious note, Africa's top health official, Jean Kasaye, is pressing the U.S. to resume health aid to the continent. The U.S. aid freeze is threatening the lives of people across Africa, particularly those with a disease like HIV. And Kasaya is warning that it could have a major impact on the U.S. too. He's urging the U.S. to lift the aid freeze quickly, saying that disease outbreak will spread further without fully funded efforts to stop them. Oh well, very sad. But then we'll definitely bring you up to speed with all of that, especially as it relates to the USAID and the aid stop from the USA. But coming up next is news across the globe. Well, it looks like American-funded aid effects or efforts could tackle diseases like malaria, prevent newborn baby deaths, and treat severe malnutrition. Well, it seems to have resumed, thanks to the memo from the U.S. government reviewed by Reuters. This is a big deal, as President Donald Trump had previously frozen international aid while conducting a 90-day review just hours after taking office last month. Although Secretary of State Marco Rubio issued a waiver a week later exempting life-saving efforts, organizations on the ground were still pretty confused about what was included. It's not hard to see why. The freeze had already caused a lot of disruptions, just like the news we gave in the news across Africa, with many aid programs grinding it to a halt. In Ghana, for example, and even Kenya, insecticides and mosquito nets were just sitting in warehouses, waiting for U.S. officials to give the green light for anti-malaria campaigns to proceed. Not just there, the situation was similar in Haiti, where programs to treat HIV patients were supposed to be exempted from the aid freeze, but remained shut due to a lack of clear guidance from the U.S. officials. And in Myanmar, the aid freeze had sparked mayhem, with humanitarian workers struggling to secure U.S. government's waiver to keep their programs running. It's worth noting that the U.S. is a major player in global aid efforts, and its freeze last week or 2 weeks ago had a significant impact on organizations like the UN Refugee Agency, which relies heavily on U.S. funding. The agency's boss, Filippo Grandi, has been urging donors to fill the gap left by the U.S. The U.S. aid freeze, and some countries have already pledged to accelerate their contributions. This will really be in the lips of so many countries, because the U.S. has been doing a lot for so many countries, not just African countries here, but other countries across the globe. But meanwhile, Iran's call for a unified currency is bold, or we can call it a bold move to challenge the US dollar dominance as the global reserve currency as a new member of the BRICS alliance. Iran is keen to reduce its reliance on the US dollar and promote the use of national currencies in international trade. The idea of a joint BRICS currency has been gaining traction, with Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Mahdi Safari expressing interest in creating a unified currency that can be used by member nations to settle cross-border transactions. This move is largely driven by Iran's desire to circumvent US sanctions, which have had a devastating impact on its economy. The country's currency, the rial, has plummeted to record lows against the US dollar, and the economy is struggling to recover. By promoting the use of a unified currency, Iran hopes to reduce its dependence on the US dollar and create a more stable and predictable economic environment. The BRICS alliance, which consists of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is well positioned to challenge. Well, in fact, 30 countries are already participating in the BRICS alliance, and several more are expected to join in the near future. The implications of a unified BRICS currency are far-reaching. The implications of a unified BRICS currency are far-reaching. It could potentially reduce the US dollar's influence in global trade and create new opportunities for emerging economies. However, it's also important to note that the US is unlikely to give up its dominance without a fight. The US Treasury Secretary has also stated that the US dollar must remain the world's reserve currency. Overall, Iran's call for a unified currency is a significant development that could have major implications for the global economy. As the BRICS alliance continues to grow and evolve, it will be interesting to see how the US responds to this challenge to its economic dominance. Overall, it's a complex and challenging situation, but it's clear that the resumption of American-funded aid and its effort is a step in the right direction. As the UN Refugee Agency, Grandi said, we think it's in the interest of the United States to be a strong humanitarian power. All right, and that's all we have for you, news across the globe. Thank you so much for being part of tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, we'll take a look at the major highlights of tonight's reports. Well, tonight on Undaunted, we talked about colonial authorities in Bamenda and launching Youth Week activities for primary and secondary schools at the upstation military camp. Tonight, we took a review at the Monday Ghost Town and how it's been effective since 2017. In Nkwame, we talked about Colonial Army disrupting football encounter at Mile 6. Also, Sub-Chief of Ngarbuh village attacked by Colonial military gang members. On the African scene, we took a walk to Congo and we talked about the spark of mass exodus. While on the foreign scene, the US government is set to resume crucial aid efforts. That's it for tonight, Undaunted. On behalf of our in-house analyst, Barrister Mbeseha, and the team of technicals who's made tonight's production possible, is good night. God bless.